From players bending the rules on the green to fiery confrontations that spiraled into chaos, the Ryder Cup has seen some of the most outrageous displays of disrespect in golf history. Picture this: 20,000 American fans roaring at full volume, a crowd so hostile that security had already tossed someone out for hurling obscene insults. Hazeltine National Golf Club was a powder keg, and right in the middle of it all, Rory McIlroy stood over a 20-foot eagle putt on the 16th green. The Northern Irishman had been heckled relentlessly all afternoon. Every drive, every iron, every putt. The jeers never stopped. Europe was reeling after a brutal 4-0 sweep that morning. McIlroy, teamed up with Ryder Cup rookie Thomas Pieters, was fighting to salvage something from a day that was slipping away. Across from them, Dustin Johnson and Matt Kuchar, America's stars, ready to close the coffin. McIlroy steadied himself over the slippery downhill slider. Silence fell. The ball trickled down the slope, caught the line, and dropped for eagle. Match over. Europe finally had a point. But it wasn't just the putt that lit the moment on fire. What Rory did next shocked everyone. He spun toward the hostile crowd, fists pumping, before launching into two exaggerated bows, as if the Ryder Cup stage was Carnegie Hall. Then he roared, "Come on!" into the Minnesota sky, punching the air with raw defiance. Later, McIlroy admitted the celebration wasn't spontaneous. "Even before I hit that putt, I wanted to make a statement," he said. "Honestly, I thought about the celebration before I even struck the ball." Now to Scotland. 2014. Gleneagles Golf Club was a wall of noise, the home fans relentless in their mission: make every American squirm. Into this cauldron walked a 24-year-old Texan few people really knew, Patrick Reed. He was paired with Jordan Spieth, another rising star, but Reed was the wild card. Unpredictable, cocky, built for confrontation. Where others wilt under thousands of hostile voices, Reed seemed to thrive. On the first tee, a fan jabbed at him. "Did you practice your putting, Patrick?" A mocking reference to a short miss the day before. The jeers only intensified as the match rolled on. Every shot, every step, the crowd was in his ear. But Reed didn't shrink. On the 7th hole, Henrik Stenson drained a 10-footer for birdie. Reed immediately answered with his own putt. Then, without hesitation, he raised a finger to his lips and shushed the Scottish gallery. The place erupted, boos raining down from every side. Reed didn't blink. He had just told the entire nation to shut up, in their own backyard, during the Ryder Cup. Oh, and by the way, he went on to beat Stenson 1-up, the only American to finish Gleneagles undefeated. Next, a different kind of disrespect. And it didn't even come from the course. Nick Faldo, Ryder Cup legend, former captain, commentator in the booth. Instead of rallying his team in 2014, he chose the worst possible moment to take a swing at one of his own. As Garcia and McIlroy fought to claw Europe back into the session, Faldo went on TV and called Sergio Garcia useless at the 2008 Ryder Cup. He doubled down. Bad attitude, half a point, not worth much. The timing? Unbelievable. Garcia was on the course fighting for Europe, while his own former captain trashed him live to millions. When word hit the team room, it exploded. Ian Poulter fumed, "The guys are seething." I'm stunned he'd say that. A cheap shot, and the worst timing imaginable. And here's the kicker. Faldo had been the captain in 2008, the only European skipper to lose since 1999. Now, instead of taking responsibility, he was scapegoating the players he had failed to lead. Sometimes, though, the disrespect doesn't come from the booth or the fairway. It comes from the crowd itself. Hazeltine, 2016. Rory McIlroy and Andy Sullivan kept missing the same 12-foot putt during practice, again and again. From the gallery, a heckler piped up, "I could make that." His name was David Johnson, an insurance agent from a tiny town in North Dakota. Normally, pros just laugh it off, but Henrik Stenson had heard enough. "You think you can make it?" he barked. "Prove it." The crowd erupted. Before Johnson knew it, he was standing on the green, a putter in his hand. Then Justin Rose upped the stakes, tossing a crisp $100 bill by the ball. "Sink it, and it's yours." Johnson's heart pounded. The putter felt wrong, too short. He asked for a read. Stenson just smirked. No. You said you could make it, so make it. The crowd hushed. Johnson pulled back the putter. Bang, dead center. Straight in the cup. The place went insane. Johnson leapt in celebration, fist pumping like he'd won the Masters. McIlroy hugged him. Stenson laughed in disbelief. A random fan from Mayville, North Dakota, had just drained the putt of his life and embarrassed 3 Ryder Cup stars in the process. Now let's rewind to 1957 at Lindrick Golf Club in Yorkshire. 2 men, 2 tempers, and 0 love lost. Eric Brown versus Tommy Thunderbolt Bolt. Bolt was infamous for smashing clubs and throwing tantrums. Brown? Cold, calculated, ruthless. The match started with Brown racing to a 3-up lead. That's when Bolt tried to derail him. He slowed the game to a crawl, hovering over every shot, stretching every putt into eternity. Pure gamesmanship. Brown saw right through it. He whispered to his caddy, who sprinted off and returned with a folding chair. Each time Bolt dragged his feet, Brown calmly sat down, crossed his legs, and watched like he was at the cinema. He didn't just beat Bolt 4 and 3. He humiliated him. No handshake, no respect. That moment set the tone as Britain captured its first Ryder Cup in more than 20 years. Fast forward to Whistling Straits, 2021. Brooks Koepka, already battling a fragile wrist, found himself in trouble. Daniel Berger's drive had landed in thick fescue, tangled near a drainage area. Koepka argued the drain interfered with his swing. Rules official David Price wasn't buying it. No relief, Koepka pressed. You don't think my club might hit right there? Have you ever seen me hit a ball? Still, the ruling stood. A second official arrived, backed it up. 10 minutes wasted. That's when Koepka snapped. He pointed at both men. If I break my wrist, it's on you two. And then, with the crowd buzzing, Koepka striped a perfect shot onto the green. No broken wrist, no injury. Just a flawless strike that made all his outrage look absurd. Crowd behavior has always pushed Ryder Cup limits. But Brookline 1999 took it to another level. Colin Montgomery, nicknamed Rabbit Ears for hearing every heckle, became the mob's favorite target. Fans mocked his weight, screamed Mrs. Doubtfire, and hurled insults too vile to repeat. Even worse, they dragged his family into it. It got so ugly that Montgomery's father walked off the course in disgust. His opponent, Payne Stewart, couldn't stomach it either. After clinching the cup for America, Stewart conceded the 18th hole to Montgomery, just to spare him another round of abuse. It was sportsmanship in the middle of chaos, and it stood in stark contrast to the crowd's cruelty. If trash talk rattles nerves, Seve Ballesteros preferred psychological warfare. Muirfield Village, 1987. Europe chasing history. A first Ryder Cup win on American soil. On the opening hole, Curtis Strange rolled a tricky putt past the cup. That left a dangerous through line for his next putt. Jose Maria Olazabal stepped in to finish, but Strange stopped him. Wait, you're on my line. Seve stormed forward, fire in his eyes. He leaned in close. That bother you? Strange admitted it did. Seve didn't back down. He stalked to his ball, chipped, and drilled it straight into the hole. Fist pump. Message delivered. Try stopping me now. Europe went on to win the cup, finally conquering American soil. Valhalla, 2008. Anthony Kim, a 23-year-old rookie, faced Ryder Cup veteran Sergio Garcia. On the 6th hole, Garcia's ball found thick rough near stone steps. He called for a ruling, perfectly reasonable. Relief is common when obstructions interfere with stance. But Kim didn't like the delay. He marched over and, with a smirk, asked if that looked like a norm. The American bench erupted. Players, wives, caddies, even Captain Ben Crenshaw and Tom Lehman flooded the green. Phil Mickelson leapt into his wife's arms. Tiger Woods jumped sky high. But here's the problem. Olazabal still had a 22-footer to tie. Instead, he had to wait while a mob trampled the green in celebration. When calm finally returned, the damage was done. He missed. America completed the greatest comeback in Ryder Cup history. But the way they celebrated before Olazabal even putted? Easily one of the most disrespectful moments the competition has ever seen. Paris, 2018. Patrick Reed and Jordan Spieth were supposed to be America's future. A partnership with a 4-1-2 record, nearly unbeatable. But Captain Jim Furyk split them up. Spieth was paired with Justin Thomas. Reed was left with Tiger Woods, still rusty in his comeback. The result was disastrous. Spieth and Thomas thrived. Reed and Woods lost every match. Europe cruised to victory. Afterward, Reed torched everything in sight. In a New York Times interview, he accused Spieth of ditching him and blamed Furyk's leadership. He didn't just vent, he detonated. Instead of protecting team unity, he dragged it through the mud in public. The timing, the tone, the betrayal, it was scorched earth. And then, Gleneagles, 2014. Tom Watson's captaincy unraveled in real time. The Americans were crushed, 16.5 to 11.5. But the damage was deeper than the score. The night before, Watson ripped into his team during a meeting, dismissed a gift they'd given him, and refused to shoulder blame. Players were stunned into silence. On Sunday, during the post-loss press conference, Phil Mickelson snapped. Asked about past success in 2008, he publicly dismantled Watson's leadership, point by point. There were two things Paul Azinger did in 2008, Phil began. He got everyone invested in the process, in the pairings, in the picks. This week, nobody here had any say in anything. It was nuclear. Right there on live television, Mickelson torched his captain 3 feet away. The fallout forced the creation of the Ryder Cup task force, which eventually led to America reclaiming the cup at Hazeltine in 2016.